I will continue to like my strange memes if you feel like it gives people permission. Honestly, there is a lot of stuff that I don't, that I check myself. It's like, Ben, you can't be seen liking that. Like, that's too much.
There is, but we have the same algorithm, I'm telling you, because every time I see an edgy meme and I want to like it, but I don't want to be seen liking it, I'm like, oh, well, Ben hearted it. Okay, I can get away with this. We'll go down together, if anything.
Yeah, because look, the way that I see it is what we were talking about before. It's like it'll attract your people. And this is something that we could also dive into and talk about some business stuff. But it's like, we always hear people say, fake it till you make it. And then you've got the other side, which is like, just be yourself. Because whatever you put out there, you'll end up attracting yourself. I do think that there is a pause on that. I've said this before, but what was it? If you're just strictly being yourself and who you are is kind of a dick, then being yourself isn't a good idea. You should be professional and all that stuff, and then like also work on yourself internally. So let's talk about that. You've been in the business for how long? The real estate business specifically?
I mean, honestly, working it probably a little over 2 years.
That's really not much, but in it for how long?
I've been licensed for 5 years. I didn't really do any like deals, or like maybe 1 or 2 in those 2 years. I had another job at the time.
Yeah.
But about 2.5 years ago, I dove in full time, and I'm glad I did. It's been a great choice for me and everything like that. But what you said about like people's personalities, I've noticed really stiff realtors can scare the consumer a little bit. And there's
talk about that, please. Elaborate.
Yeah, if you're very stiff, you get kind of frozen. If something bad's going down in a transaction, it can spook everybody and make people make bad decisions, kill deals. I found that if you keep the moment light, make even a joke, it keeps people's emotions in check, and therefore the transaction could actually play out and they trust you.
Could you give an example? I think that's very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, we were going to have an appraisal problem, a big situation with this on a deal in Suffolk County, and I made a joke that, if it doesn't work out, we'll just, throw the house back on the market. I'll buy it for like quarter of the price. That cool? and that's what they did. They laughed, and we somehow got it to appraise. It was a Hail Mary appraisal, but got it done, and it could have been pretty bad. So everyone was happy, got sleep. I think when people have nervous thoughts, they kind of manifest these problems.
I think what you just mentioned is huge in the business for us as professionals, because we experience as professionals tremendous amount of burnout because people are operating in this really anxious, stressful state of mind, both the people in the business and the clients themselves. And what you did something so small, but it was really big in terms of the impact. Because if you didn't do that, Chris, they would probably ruminate on it until... So let me ask you this, actually. Between the time that you made that joke and you received the appraisal, how much time went by? Not just conducted it, but you received it.
Literally a day. But I had to joke around with the appraiser, too. I feel like when things are so sky high and the problem is so big, I can't sell people on the transaction. I've got to sell them on me.
Right.
And that gets people believing, gets people involved, and it seems to keep things a lot smoother than if I get rocky and worry, and then they know there's a problem. Otherwise, you could kind of push it under the rug. People's emotions stay low.
Well, you saved them from basically losing sleep for 24 hours, right? It was were your sellers freaking out, or who did you represent?
I was representing the seller there.
Okay.
So I really believe if they freak out, then they could even make a rash decision and try to breach a contract, or any other thing can go wrong, and they'll manifest problems. I've seen people that just attract bad things with bad energy.
Yeah.
And it works vice versa too.
It's a real thing. It's not some like voodoo magic. It's because it goes into your soul, the energy you put out there, and then you attract it. You're not attracting this, you could call it abundance, you could call it positive energy, but I wish there was like a study that I could cite on this, but it has to be real, because everyone that you see that is successful, whether it's in business or in life, doesn't have that, that super negative energy. I mean, are there anomalies who are crazy and sharky who make a lot of money? Yeah, they make a lot of money, but they're miserable people, which, what's the point of making a lot of money if you're a miserable person?
Exactly. No, it's an emotional thing. I think your emotions attract the next events that come into your life. So even if it's a negative circumstance, keep your coolness, keep your calm, and you can resolve that on an energy level. I've found that to be the case, and people think it's crazy, but
how do you go about doing that?
Breathing, not reacting, like if it's hitting the fan kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, last minute decisions. I've seen it work so many times that I have faith that even if something goes wrong, it's going wrong for a reason to make this an even better situation. And I really gotten, I guess you could say, lucky with that, but I've seen things play out that should have never happened, but they did.
So, Chris, I want to dive into your journey in the business. If you could talk very, very briefly about like how you got in. I know that you said, you know, out of the 5 years, the first 3 you weren't really in the business. Yeah. So can you talk about that journey specifically? Like, because I figure that there was some type of catalyst 2 years ago that got you to spike in and really push. So can you, again, talk about the journey and then how the past 2 years have been going for you?
Yeah, I was got licensed, worked with Joe Sonona. Didn't really do too much transactions.
Our man Joe, yeah, he was on the podcast.
Yeah, I spoke to him yesterday.
Yeah,
and like, I just wasn't really knowing what I should do to generate clients, so I had to keep a side job as well. During that time, my fiance and I got divorced, and that was like a driver. I felt like, okay, I've got something to prove. If I'm going to go out and risk and take this business on, then I've got to make it work. I've got to stand by my promise. So ended up going full time in, and of course, you got to work your way into it. Different types of lead gen. Started doing more like exclusive deals, more government contracts, and then developed the YouTube channel, and it's been great ever since. We started that in January.
Okay, I want to come back to the YouTube channel. Can you talk about government contracts? It's not a term that I've heard ever from any realtor or mortgage person. So what does that mean exactly?
I got into them on accident. I had a rental in Queens, and I was sitting on my phone, and I got 3 odd emails like coming up at the top, and it was like U.S. government private files, do not disclose. It was like these weird subject lines, crazy.
Sounds like a scam.
Yeah, and then I got a text from a very odd number. It was like a weird number. And then that number was calling me, and I was like, oh, I'm hacked. I was like, I don't know what this is, but I picked it up. And I was like, is this Chris Rebetti? And I was like, yes, it is. He's like, well, this is Lieutenant General blah, blah, blah from United Nations. We see you have a listing over here. We need it. Do you have any other offers on it? We've sent you all the documents you need. And they sent clean-cut paperwork, you know. And the thing is, they're bringing people from overseas that don't really have IDs. They have visas, and it's very tough for them to get in. So I helped them organize their paperwork. I brought a general in, and from there, they saw what I did. So I kind of became on their list, their go-to guy, and I helped relocate for the UN.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We can cut that out if you don't want anyone getting in on that.
Oh, that's fine.
That's very, very unique and not... I've actually done a bunch of loans for people that work at the UN. They also have their own credit union as well, but they're typically not that difficult to do from a mortgage perspective if you know how to do them. You know, a lot of LOs get stuck on like the income and how to use it, but given that they're here, it's actually pretty easy. Okay, so YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. You're generating a good amount of business from it?
Yes. Just hit our best month, me and Aaron together. And we started, it was rocky. You have to make like a few videos. Right. And we realized we have to hire an editor to make it more entertaining. So we outsource everything to Ukraine. And it's been, it's been awesome. We just send the Google Drive over. He does the edits, send it back pretty quick. So we have 17 videos right now. We're almost at 900 subscribers.
What type of, I haven't seen your YouTube content, so can you tell us about like what does it entail?
I talk about lantern flies and how to park your car. And I mentioned that I'm in real estate. And we get people from all across the country, Los Angeles, Oklahoma. We've had people from, I got a call today from Nebraska that are relocating. So they're relocation leads. They're not that they're here, but we have done business here on the island.
Yeah, but you could always refer out, pick up a fee, and move on.
Could definitely do that, but they've built a relationship with me and with Aaron because we're looking in their eyes on the camera, so they kind of feel like they really know us. The leads are so warm, and so we don't want any...
That's the beauty.
We don't want anyone to drop the ball, but they come directly to us.
Oh, yeah, you're not referring it if you were to anyone, I know that.
Yeah.
And I know that you have a very large network, which we'll talk about as well. Okay, so you're doing just day-to-day things, right? You're not necessarily talking about the business, but are you guys recording yourself? Do you have a videographer? How does that work?
We have both. We record ourselves. We do have a videographer as well, but we'll also do home tours. We've gotten into some pretty cool homes on the Gatsby block. We've done in the Hamptons. We've gotten luxury, and people like to see it. So
yeah, people love luxury. I love watching luxury real estate videos, and I'm in the business. Everyone likes
it. Just sells. You know, it's nice materials, clean video. People love that. It's easy to watch.
Yeah, it's super easy to watch.
Yeah.
Is there anything like... When you're putting it in the content, you're not like talking about the home features, or you've got like sprinkles of that.
Yeah, we do talk about materials, home features, smart home, kind of appliances, like the crazy new smart toilets you see in these things.
Yes.
They heat the seat, cool the seat, AC.
Bidets.
Bidet.
Yeah, I don't have one anymore because I couldn't find one for my new apartment. But once you get a bidet, it's so hard to go back.
Really? I've never experienced one.
Oh my God. So imagine, okay, that it's in the middle of winter. You're cold at home and you go to use the bathroom, you sit down and your toilet seat is warm. You won't want to come off it. You know, sometimes, this must have happened at least 3-4 times where I would just I didn't even need to go to the bathroom. I just go and sit on it because it's comfortable.
Wait, I thought the bidet was the wash. You're talking about the heated seat?
Yeah, well, now what they do with the bidets, and, you know, Japan is the king of this, is that they're like these insane machines that will wash you any parts of your body. It doesn't just do heated seats, but it also does like drying, does the AC like you said, it does all the, and probably a bunch of other things, because honestly I'm not up to date with the current.
They have a soap mixture as well. It says like a soap mixture, and you can also have that. It's crazy.
It is amazing. I mean, now I'm just like, I have to put it as a mission to find a new bidet.
Vision board.
Right? Bidet that fits my toilet.
Oh, yes.
I need a new seat, too. Correct. All right, not that you guys needed to know that. But that's true. That's been on my to-do list for a minute.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I love me a good bidet. It's the best. Okay, so back to the YouTube channel. Are you guys throwing any spend behind the channel, like advertising to push it?
We haven't really done advertising. Okay. It's mainly been just organic.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but we knew this would come because we followed some of the best YouTubers that would be at conferences, learned how they do things, what type of videos to post, and then we ended up racking up about 50,000 views total, and I'm like, I couldn't have called 50,000 people and make it this warm.
So can you elaborate on that? Because I know from a realtor or a lender's perspective, what they struggle with the most is it's two things. One is having the cojones to begin with to record and put yourself on camera, which I think the general population is okay with these days. But the second thing is how do you come up with how to piece the content together? So let's talk about, can you mention who it was specifically that helped you come up with the ideas, or any specific influences that you guys studied and kind of learned from them?
A big one that I love, he's down in Texas. That's living in Houston. It's Marquez Branson. He's an awesome agent. Another one is it Levi? I forget his last name, but he's with EXP as well. And they are some of the best channels that you have. Channel Junkies, I forget the guy's name, but follow all of their content. And they just go over that if you're doing something repeatedly, it may not work. Just like a phone call, if you don't have the right script. If you're filming the wrong videos and people are turning it off 2 minutes in, that's not going to generate leads. So we had to find a way to get people to watch the video for 20 minutes straight, to rack us up 500 hours of watch time.
Right.
It had to be the right content, and if I did something or I said something stupid, I'd see where everyone clicked off the video, and I'm like, I'm never saying that again.
Ah, interesting.
It's
so you really go back and analyze and see where people stop watching. Yeah. Okay, that's powerful. I think you could do the same thing on Instagram too, right? With Reels, you see what people.
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure that you can. I should do that. Anthony, we should do that, even though my videos are too short. Yeah, so it's interesting that long-form content these videos are how long typically? 20 minutes?
30 minutes, 40 minutes?
30, 40. How often do you release them?
Doing one now every 2 weeks. We were doing one a week.
Yeah.
And then we kind of decided to pull back on that. We were getting a little bit too busy, and it was tough to maintain the quality of service and the quality of video. So doing about 3 a month maybe. Around
I feel that's good. Every other week, basically, you do it.
Yeah, and we could be consistent with that.
So you've been doing it since January. It's currently almost the end of September. Was there a particular point where you saw it take off? I imagine there were a few months or weeks where it was like that, and then all of a sudden it just went bang.
About 3 months ago.
3 months. Okay, so that really, it took 6 months of consistent posting for the channel to blow up. And I mentioned this, even though it's obvious that we said it, because the average person will give up after 3 videos, right? After 3 weeks. You guys were persistent enough for 6 months to do it. So during that 6 months as well, were you guys making tweaks and changes and all this stuff? Talk to us about that, because I think that's something that people don't really talk about and is useful to hear. Even for me as a content creator, it's really beneficial to hear.
Yeah, we looked at the analytics, and I'm like, okay, people don't like when we talk about this. They don't like when my face is on the screen for more than 4 seconds. So There has to be something that flies
That's
by.
surprising. Chris is a handsome guy.
That's what I thought, but
like,
not
yeah, but
not to
not
these
as handsome
people.
as we.
They didn't think so. But with that, it's like something has to fly across the screen, an animation, a picture, a drone shot to keep people's minds engaged.
Yeah.
So our editor's been a rock star at doing that, and he's an awesome guy. He's got 2 kids now. He's like working so hard for us, but he's been making the tweaks.
Right.
Crazy story about him. He's in Ukraine, and his wife was pregnant with their second daughter, and she started to go into labor in the car. They're driving the side of a Ukraine highway, which is not even the safest right now.
Right.
Pulls over the car, delivers the baby in the passenger's seat. And he's like, sorry, I didn't edit the video, Chris. I just got back from the hospital. We delivered the baby in the car. And I didn't believe it until I saw the picture.
That's freaking nuts.
I know. Crazy.
That makes me think of, you remember that, did you watch Men in Black?
I haven't, no.
There's the scene where Will Smith is delivering an alien out of a back seat. Anyway, it reminded me of that. And it's like a squid-looking alien, too.
Oh, man.
Okay, where were we? We weren't talking about bidets. We were talking about the YouTube channel. Okay, so what topics in particular, if you could name top 3, Chris, that you see that people... Well, you mentioned the luxury real estate they love. Name 2 other things, please, that keeps people engaged in your content.
Map tours. Pull up an iPad. I'm drawing on it. I'm showing them which are the parkways, which are the expressways, highways, where they're located, proximity to New York City, because people are clueless. They have no idea they're coming from another state across the country. So
like showing where you are physically.
Yes, and where everything is, because we have people coming from India too that are like converting their money into lakhs, well, from lakhs into dollars, and they're starting with that, so they really don't even know a thing about what's going on here. So we've got a handhold, and those videos do a lot of the work for us.
That's
Map
awesome.
tours
Okay, very
and
cool.
and things you should know before you move here. And that's when I talk about parking your car, getting a ticket, and lantern flies.
Yeah. Well, where did the lantern flies come in?
They're just annoying. I think,
Yeah?
Yeah, if you came into a new place and you saw these red bugs everywhere, like, what is that?
That's true. I'm not a fan of bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so content-wise, you guys, where do you guys actually, let me go back, and we'll stick with the content. Where do you see it going over the next couple years?
Well, we want to go as big as possible with that. It's going to be a relocation company, potentially just sell the entire channel, get a nice evaluation on it, and just sell it. Or just build it up into a relocation business where we can sell the leads.
Right.
Because people are going to struggle with buyer brokerage, and if we can add to that, add value.
People already are.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. Oh,
How has that affected the business for you guys, if at all?
Really hasn't too much at all.
No.
Like, we've been good at explaining it. We practiced this months ago. I said, the problem is people or agents are not going to know how to explain this, and that's where they're going to lose leads in business. The best person at explaining it is going to get the business. So we rehearsed that and everything.
So you role-played it. Smart. Okay, so I'm not going to ask you for the whole thing.
Okay.
But can you give us like a little snippet of, like, let's say you got a buyer that doesn't know jack about real estate, but heard, of what was going on with the NAR settlement. I like saying NAR settlement because then you sound like an Australian person saying no. Just like the NAR settlement, the NAR, it's just... It just comes naturally. NAR settlement. But yeah, could you break it down for us in like 30 seconds?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get everything out of you, Chris, while we have the time.
No, absolutely. So we present the documents on the Zoom call. We say, look, this is going to be your New York State documents. They're not from here. So we don't get a huge amount of objections. They really don't know too much about what's going on. But we're not stiffing people over. We're explaining it is that we just have to represent you as a buyer's agent. Some listings are not going to give buyer commission. If they don't, you're going to pay the same price you would if they were to get our fee paid for, so it's nothing extra out of your pocket, and this is just to protect you as well. These are fair housing forms as well as agent representation. We are not taking you to any of our own homes. We're getting you the best deal possible.
That's a pretty solid, simple explanation. We could go further into it, but I don't want to. I'll put it this way. If you want to know more, reach out to Chris.
Reach out.
Yeah. You guys know what you're doing. All right, so let's talk about my favorite person on the planet. I'm joking. I mean, I still love him.
I know where this is
going. Mr. Zucker. How long have you and Aaron been working together, and how's that been going? You're both very unique personalities. You've got your own quirks. I'm guessing, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Aaron is more of, the pusher, the aggressive guy. Like maybe he plays bad cop and you play good cop. How does it all work?
Yeah, I mean, we have polar opposite personalities, Aaron and I. Yeah. But I get his quirkiness, he gets mine. And because we're opposites, I think it's the best partner you can have in business because where I leave off, he picks it up. Where he forgets something, I'm right there to catch it. And it's the perfect blend. And wasn't until we started getting each other's flow state in business that then we became friends. I think a lot of people are best friends and they try to go into business after that, and they don't have the flow capacity yet to handle it, and it fails. So
can you talk about flow capacity? What do you mean by that? And you meant before like figuring out each other's flows. I think that's key.
Who's doing what throughout the day, and how much can they handle throughout the day, where they're going to be throughout the day. If they got to go take a bunch of breaks, if they got to go, they have kids they got to watch, if they have dogs they got to sit as well. We want to know exactly what their day looks like. And so I understand his day. He understands my day very easily. We share calendars.
And that also requires an immense amount of trust.
Yeah.
Right, which I imagine didn't come overnight. You guys had to work of it. Were you guys on the same team? How did the partnership come together is what I'm asking.
Yeah, met him at Goldbar. He was the first one that kind of like gave me like a shot, come over there, and like we saw something in you, Chris. He introduced me to you. This was like 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was like, he told me to ask you for a list of leads. And you were like, oh, this infamous list Aaron says I have. Did I hit the accent okay?
Yeah, you did. Which is a bunch of just really, really old leads.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. But we went through those. And then over time, we both started performing at our own pace. And he taught me about driving sales. I teach him a bit more about marketing. And it's like the perfect blend.
Yeah, and it's obviously it's working very, very well for you guys, and it's unique because I see a lot of partnerships in the real estate business. Candidly, a lot that I see don't really make sense, or maybe I don't know stuff. You and Aaron seems like, again, perfect, like it makes sense. Okay, so the goal is build the YouTube channel, potentially sell it, keep it, sell leads, whatever you want to do. Okay, what about because you guys are young. How old are you?
I'm 29.
29, Aaron's roughly the same age?
He's 27.
27. So you guys are young. You got time in this business. Do you guys see yourself staying in the business for more than 10 years or getting into like developing other stuff?
Yeah, I probably won't be doing it in 10 years. I don't think he will either. We'll work on our investments and things like that. But whatever we could do to still provide marketing value, maybe even teaching or stuff like that, CE credit, we would do those.
It's still good to like be in the game, like have a foot in the game, and this way you know what's going on. It's very different to be able to work on. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe it would work either way. Okay, good. So I have a bunch of random questions for you. But before we even get into those, because we don't have a ton of time, let's talk about the infamous graveyard story.
So this just happened, yes.
Yeah.
So we were about 48 hours out from closing, and I get a call from our attorneys, Allison. She's the legal secretary. She's great. She calls me, and she goes, Chris, we're having a problem. We don't have a death certificate. We just got back from title. And I'm like, oh, my God. I said, well, let's get title on the phone right now.
This was, again, what, a few weeks ago?
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago.
This is great.
So I got the phone with title. I'm like, you guys dropped the ball here, man. 48 hours? They're like, well, we can expedite a gift certificate, a death certificate, but that won't come for like 5 days. And I'm like, we don't have 5 days. I said, what do you need? And they said, we need proof of death. I said, well, if I just send you a picture of the crypt, does that work? And they were like, yeah, I mean, it has a name and a date. We need that. I said, okay. I called the cemetery, and I said, this is at Pine Lawn. And I was like, I was like, I need to get in there. I'm a realtor. Odd situation, but I need a picture of a stone. Could you maybe get me a picture of the stone? She's like, no, I can't leave my post. I said, okay, well, I can't get there till after 5. She's like, well, we close at 5. I said, well, what if someone hopped the fence? She's like, if you hop the fence, Chris, you're getting arrested for trespassing. I said, okay. We worked it out with the grounds crew member down there. I got in, found out the exact section he was in, located, which I thought was going to be like 20 graves. It was about 2,000. Oh. But we located it, got the picture, got the deal done, and it closed perfectly on time.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's the things we do.
Did you have to hop the fence?
No, I was let in through the gate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, no.
But that was so, when you told me that story, that was the most like random and like weird thing. I honestly like wouldn't expect them to just accept a picture too of the graveyard or the crypt itself. I'm surprised that they
never been done before.
Yeah, did it take any convincing, or they were just like, no, we'll take it, it's fine?
They knew that like they dropped the ball, that this was a problem, and we could still expedite something to you later on. But it's a huge problem for the clients if you can't close, because we have a flight and we have everything.
They probably use that to like hold the deal together and just get it to close. And I'm sure that they, after closing, they got the death certificate. They must have. Yeah. They must have. Yeah. Ooh, my pen. So that's weird. I've had some weird ones myself, but nothing that comes even close to that.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one. So I asked this because we mentioned before, Chris, you're a handsome guy. You're very out there. You're on social media. What is the weirdest DM or comment you've ever received?
It's mostly just pictures that come in. It's really not great. Pictures tell 1,000 words. Well, we've got a few thousand words that are not that great, but that does happen. I'm sure you get the same.
I am very proud to say that I don't. I get some very, very strange DMs. Like once, this wasn't that long ago. I think it was before the summer. This lady starts messaging me. She's like, "Hey Ben, my parents are looking to buy a home. They're going to need some mortgage advice." I was like, "Great, would be more than happy to help." My typical response, and she's asking a couple questions. So I'm just like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. This is a little odd. So I was just like, at this point, it would be best if you put me in touch with your parents. And then she was like, they're not ready to talk right now, and I'm not ready to give your information to them. I would like us to build a friendship before I refer you to my parents. And I was like, absolutely not. That is weird. And it wasn't a bot. When it's a bot.
Yeah.
This was targeted and specific. I was like, I'm not going to be your friend in order to do your parents' loan. I mean, even if I was single, I wouldn't do that. That is just a very weird way to set a relationship up for business, which was, I don't know, I politely told her to go f*** herself, and just because I was like, that's creepy, right? Imagine if, as a guy, you did that to a woman, right? On the
can't have that, yeah.
Yeah, creepy, borderline, not assaultive, but just really, really creepy and not cool, and just a very, very bizarre tactic.
Borderline Diddy.
It's very Diddy-like. We love our Diddy memes. We don't love Diddy. I loved his music, though, I guess, back
I liked
in the 90s.
it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, you had some good ones.
Yeah.
What was what was the song with Jagged Edge? It was I Need a Girl Part 2.
I liked Gold Digger.
Was he on Gold Digger? I thought it was just Kanye.
Sometimes I confuse their voices. So maybe it was
Really?
Kanye's on that track, but Diddy's not on there as well?
He might be. I don't even know. I thought maybe it was T-Pain. Was it someone?
T-Pain.
I could be making that up. Okay, so that was weirdest. We'll divert because again we're running out of time. Okay, what is your most hated real estate myth? It could be about the business working as an agent, or it could be from a consumer's perspective, what they expect.
Well, I think it's a lot of perception of realtors. It's just terrible. They, the consumer believes that it's just door opening and that there's nothing else going on. And some agents do that. Yeah. But other agents carry out full concierge service like we do. And so it's hard to kind of save your reputation if people, we get comments on the channel that people are like, these are scammers or realtors. It's like, no, we're out here really trying. We pick up all your calls, negotiating for you. So it does matter, but that's a tough perception that I guess we really do go against. It goes car salesman, us.
Right. And I don't feel like that perception is unwarranted or undeserved, because there is a large population, and this goes for mortgage people as well, who behave that way, right? Who would just do the minimum, and they're just flashy people, and it's all flash, no substance, right? So I'm going to give you an opportunity to brag. You're talking about some concierge level service, you guys go above and beyond. You can talk about just a few of the things, Chris, that you do that really separates yourself from the average agent to being the rock stars.
We have really stiff organization. We have files, folders, follow-up notes, tasks, that we don't miss a task ever. So no one's ever forgotten about. They know that we're the only people that are always going to be there for the needs. Even for people reaching out to us that maybe we're doing something on a showing, we get back to them within seconds because we have AI technology that can also book appointments, that's trained to be just like us. They're trained to be like Donna from Suits. Yeah. Believe she went to Harvard. Quirky personality. If you send a joke, she'll joke back. Right. Very high-end stuff, but that's what we've developed. And it's made us able to keep the level of service because we can
that AI time. That you have, that's for the clients or it's for you guys?
It's kind of shared between us. So if you give direct outreach to us, the bot will hit you first thing if we're not there after a minute. So
oh wow.
Yeah, so it gets right back to them and they're impressed with the service, and it'll actually book them in whatever slots we have open in our calendar, and it's pretty cool.
That's amazing. That's not ChatGPT. That's something else, I imagine.
No, that's the Goldbar CRM.
Oh, it's your own CRM that you guys have, which is becoming increasingly more and more, I think, necessary in this business. A lot of our lenders have it. We have it on the ops side. I think I saw Sirhan just came out with one.
Yep.
I actually haven't seen many others in the business, so that's dope. How do you go about developing that?
You got to ask Juan Baronecci that question. He's
Okay.
the one behind that. But
That's the plug.
yep, but we have, I don't know how he did it, man, but it's like a miracle worker. It connects my Google Business to my Google Gmail, to my Google Calendar, to my, like, everything, to my texts. It's all in one place.
It just makes life that much easier.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's like you're running a real business. It's something that I talk about for people, again, in the business, real estate, mortgage, whatever, is that you have to treat this like what it is. It's a business, right?
Yeah.
What you're doing is running a full concierge service real estate business where the average person is just like trying to hustle and do some deals. It's an actual system, which is also what you need to live a good lifestyle in the business. So let's talk about this as well. And Chris, you may not have been in the business long enough to experience it, but burnout, right? Burnout in our business is insanely high. When it happens for me, it's happened a couple times throughout my career for sure. And how do you go about managing it is one question that I had for you if you do experience it or if you have. But what I will say is that having a system like what you just described really eliminates it, or it prolongs it, meaning it pushes it back, because you're not doing the silly things yourself, right? Anything that you can have technology do for you, you should, as long as it doesn't take away from customer experience.
Exactly. I mean, I've gone through burnout about 2 weeks ago. I was like,
That was recent.
I'm there, Aaron. Like, I gotta just.
It must have been the graveyard thing. The graveyard thing
it
put
was
you over the
everything,
edge.
just everything. And I was like, I booked a flight. It's leaving in 3 hours. I'll see you later. And he took over the business. He understands. I did the same for him when he went on a cruise. Like, we just are there for each other. We understand that it's coming at sometimes, and it does happen, even with technology involved. Like, you do feel it.
That's a really good answer. So basically, have a dope partner that you can trust with your business.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question, and then we'll wrap up, or maybe another one. So you've seen some very unique properties. Is there any one particular feature? So for instance, for myself, I live in Williamsburg with my fiance. We're going to eventually move to Long Island, right? So one of the features that I want, which is really simple, is just like heated floors in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the whole house, but heated floors in the bathrooms and, God willing, heated driveway just to deal with the snow, right? Is there like one particular one? And again, I'm asking because I'm looking for ideas. That really comes out, or several.
Oh, a ton. Like, my favorite thing is floors, and what I love to see on the floor is porcelain. It's very,
really?
It's very different than marble. It has a completely
I was literally
different
gonna ask,
sheen.
why porcelain?
Because one, you could do the radiant heat a lot easier under those. Number
Okay.
two, it has a sheen, and the texture is there. It's beautiful. Like, any light hits that, just bounces, opens up the room wide.
Cost-wise, how different is it?
It's a little bit more expensive.
Really? I thought it would be cheaper, actually. I'm
In
surprised.
some cases.
Yeah.
But the ones I've seen in the new builds, I love it. I'm not sure exact price per square foot off the top of my head right now, but I'm sure it's going to be somewhere around $200 per square foot, depending on how the quality you want to have.
Okay, interesting. So porcelain floors it is. Anything else?
I like bathrooms too. I like, kitchens, bathrooms, thick quartz on the countertop.
Yeah. For me, it's mostly like durability is huge. Obviously, for everyone, you have to take budget into consideration, but also like convenience. Convenience is absolute key. God willing, you have a dryer and a washer on the same floor, but then that's hard because you need enough space, and that's a harder to do.
Yeah.
So, okay. The question is, what is the craziest negotiation tactic you have ever used on a deal? But I have a follow-up question.
Oh, I just did it 1 month ago. We had a contingent. I was selling their house, and we had their contingent. They needed to buy something as well.
Yeah.
They wanted to move straight in. So we're under contract with their house, and we've got to get them into the next house, but we're still contingent. So we're doing an FHA loan, and we have a down payment with a HELOC. Okay, So it's not even actual cash. It's like a credit card.
Right.
And I said, we kept getting rejected, and I spoke to our attorneys. I said, I'd like to start submitting cash offers non-contingent, which would be very high risk. But we had a great buyer on the property for the sale side, and Made the offer. I got us about 3 accepted offers. They had their pick of the litter, which house they wanted. They got the dream one. Their attorney even called our side and was like, your agent must be out of his mind. But we knew we had the deal slam shut on the sale side. So everything played out. We closed them both in 2 days. And it was like, not 2 days right after that, but
right.
One day, next day. Yeah.
So let's talk about that, because the average person, even in the business, won't understand what you just said. I do, because it's easy for me on the mortgage side. So talk about how you turned a file, or rather an offer which has a mortgage, into a cash offer. Obviously, we know the ramifications, the risks, but how does one do that? I know how simple it is, but go ahead.
That means your deposit is non-refundable.
Right.
So if you breach or you don't perform, you're losing that deposit. And again, we were pretty much putting a credit card on that deposit. Right. But we knew we had a solid buyer, had to sign off some disclosures. We had the attorneys review it with them. We had the perfect buyers and the perfect buyers on the other side. So everyone was happy. Everyone sighed relief at the end of that.
I have a question. They obviously still allowed you to do the appraisal.
Yes.
Right. So
we covered that gap.
Yeah. So basically, like when you buy a house cash and still using a mortgage, which I know doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but you're essentially waiving the mortgage contingency, right? Which is why you're saying like you don't have the ability to get the down payment back, which again makes sense if the deal goes south, right? On the buyer side at least. So again, it's super high risk, right? Super high risk. Obviously, I'm sure the attorney like went over everything with the buyer and explained the risk, probably got stuff in writing.
Yep.
Because it is tremendously risky. But because what if, like, for instance, as a buyer, let's say that you have the perfect loan. Because Chris, I have clients that say this, they want to use this scenario with me. And I have had it, not many, it was more common, honestly, during COVID, because it was so competitive. Lately, they haven't done it as much, but let's say even you got the lowest debt to income ratio in the world, massive down payment, and you're good to go. But you go into contract, and for some weird reason, you get laid off. It's not in your control, right? There's nothing that you can do about it. But again, it's a very powerful tactic to use. I'd say it's more powerful than putting a bigger EMD, waiving the home inspection. It's not one that we always use, right? But
Never.
Yeah, okay, so never. So that's, I wanted to elaborate on that because the risk is so large. It's not something that everyone should do. Okay, other than that, Chris, do you feel like you guys do anything different on the buyer's side to get their offers accepted?
Yeah, you got to get creative. We'll offer to have the appraiser and an inspector there at the same time, make things nice and simple. Yes. This way you could go right into contract smoothly. We'll do things like close on or before a certain day. Right. Of course, waiving some mortgage contingency or some appraisal gap is always helpful. Yeah. We just advise properly on that. Same thing with inspections.
So with the appraisal gap, we really got to wrap up. With the appraisal gap, you guys setting like a limit, say if it appraises under X amount, the buyer will come out of pocket for Y amount. Is that how you guys are structuring most of them?
Yeah.
I feel that that's fair.
Whatever they can endure, like nothing too crazy. Not going to fully waive it in some cases, but like you could cover up to $30K, you could cover up to $20K.
Yeah, it's like you meet in the middle.
Have an escalation clause or something. Yeah. Get creative with your offers, because a lot of offers are coming in and they're just a binder, or an expired pre-approval. Like that's it.
Right.
There's no
not enough
massage of the agent. You got to do that as well. Joke with them, yes. Bond with them, offer them Twizzlers. I've done that.
Twizzlers work for some.
They do.
For me, it's Dove chocolate.
Oh, okay.
We had a chocolatier on the podcast a couple weeks ago. It was a realtor, former chocolatier.
I heard.
Yeah. She was great. Okay, so Chris, this has been very powerful, by the way, and very useful. I've personally learned quite a few things listening to you, especially on the the YouTube side. It's not my forte at all. So Anthony, we probably got to start doing that. Okay, any final words of wisdom? If not, how can people reach you? And why should they reach you?
They should reach out to me because I'm the realtor that is taking off the suit jacket, putting on the leather one to save your deal from dying. And I'm not your realtor. I'm your real estate ER doctor. Welcome to the emergency room. You could find me on Instagram. You could call me. My number's in the bio. And I'd love to be the one that helps you.
Love it. Awesome. Chris, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Peace.